Oh, well, all right. All right, I am live. I completely fucked up the intro music, so that's that. So there's no intro music. It looked like it was going to stutter and fail on me, so I clicked the wrong thing and it went off. Anyway, it's Monday night. I'm streaming. I didn't stream last week because 2 days last week there was no work, and on Monday, like around 6 in the afternoon, work called me up and said, "Oh, we got nobody, blah, 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 blah. You want to drive down to Virginia?" And I wasn't really in the mood to drive to Virginia, but there were 2 days where I didn't make any money. I made $0. So I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I went and I grabbed a piece and drove down to Virginia on Monday on my day off. And then I ended up working 7 days that week or this past week and finding out what fun stuff. Endless car trouble. I got more car trouble. Fucking going to cost me more money, but I have to limp along until Saturday, which is another day. Well, hopefully I'll work part of the day, but just going to cost me more money. And it's kind of sucks when like things are slow to the point where, it's not like I make a little bit of money on one day or another day. It's like I make $0. And I'm like, ew, that sucks. But the title of tonight's stream is Makhe, or combat. It's a Greek word for combat. And I don't know, a bunch of people that follow me on Twitter saw that I did a stream with a YouTube channel called Politically Provoked. And I found out about that through Norvin Hobbs. And Norvin, I don't know how Norvin they found him, and they had heard me on his stream, and this previous Saturday, now we're going back to like November 14th, right? We're going back like 2 weeks. I got home early, and Norvin sent me a link on Saturday. He does like a Saturday show. And I got home like relatively early, and I said, "Yeah, I'll pop on for a little bit." And so that's what I did. So I was like on with Norvin for an hour and a half. And then he goes over to this other show, and he sends me the link. I go there. It's like eight millennials. I don't know, eight or nine people on the stream. Duvid's there. Our old friend Duvid is there, and some other small hats, a bunch of queers, and some thirsty millennials. The host is a Jewish woman who you see, who's dressed with cleavage wise to let people know that she's female, and her co-host is a black guy who you never see. All right, his camera's off. You don't know who he is. And the whole thing was like weird. I was tired and a little bit drunk, which is not much of a surprise. That probably describes me most of the time that I'm on the internet. But so I went in there. I was like, all right, let me just fucking flip the tables and start messing with these people. And Norvin, and listen, he brought me there like I was a fucking like a pit bull. You know what I mean? He brought me there like I was a rabid pit bull. Let loose in a yeshiva. So anyway, if you saw the stream, like I said, if you follow me on Twitter, I sent you the link, or there's different ways to find it. But the show is called Politically Provoked, and I went on there. It was on the stream was 5 hours and 21 minutes total. I came on it, or me, Norvin, and the crew came on it 3 hours and 30 minutes. And then I went for about an hour or so. And then it just got too stupid, and I got too tired of everything and left. But it was all in all, it was kind of fun to do. A relatively new audience, a new group of small hats to bants, and which I did, and they don't know what to do with you. Like they really believe their rhetorical tricks are like the ultimate bag of rhetorical tricks. And I could probably teach a 6-week course in everything that. In everything I do. Look who's here, the boomer Bob Paxton, sitting there with his glass of prune juice and chopping up those lines of geritol and snorting them up, just like the old days in Woodstock. I'm sure. Anyway, welcome Bob Paxton. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, that's always my excuse is that I was drunk. That's not much of an excuse anyway. But yeah, politically provoked. You can find them on Twitter. And but the stream I did, it would be the November 14th stream. They call it Pop On Drink and Chat. Now that's not on YouTube. That's on BitChute because we were being explicit in naming them, and they don't want to do that on the show. But so I wanted to see myself. I was like, give me a link to that because I wanted to show a bunch of people because I don't know anybody knew what that was. It was like, uh, where's the show? And so I was DMing this woman on Twitter, and I was DMing her for a while, and things just got very weird, and there was something abnormal about it, and I didn't particularly care for her, and ultimately, I decided. Um, to like what did I do basically here? Let's do this. Let's pick this. I'm DMing this girl about a bunch of different things, and she's like, "Oh, you were great. You're like gold. Love your content. Blah 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 blah." And politically provoke. Bob Paxton is aware. Well, I figured that out. So anyway, but I just wanted the link to show people because I was funny and I banced the shit out of a bunch of Jews, and there's no blood sports like that. I can't get anyone to fight with me or argue with me. It's either seriously or in a comedic way. And this fell into my lap out of nowhere. And so I thought, hey, you know what? Let's throw some red meat to my 48 and a half fans. I probably don't even really have 48 fans. I probably have 8 fans. The other 40 subscribers to this channel are probably YouTube bots, but whatever. So I'm home and I was cooking and I said something to her. I was like, have you ever eaten pork? And she's like, I used to have a pet pig. She said it would be too much like eating a dog or something like that. And I thought that was so weird. I'll show you the DM. Where is it? And this is what she says. She sends me this picture, right? And I put the picture up. So there it is, right? There's her. I'll see if we can have to make it bigger. Why is it not coming up? Oh, the boomer tech. The older James gets, the earlier he podcasts. This is not a podcast. This is an anti-Semitic. This is a domestic terrorist live stream. Okay, this is a domestic terrorist live stream. I am not a boomer. I am not a boomer. There we go. Okay, let's see. I'll make that one a little bigger. It's my mastery of this. I don't even know if this is the actual girl, right? Let's see. I'll make it. Yeah. So there's a picture of, I don't know, somebody with like one of those little baby pigs, and I was just home and I was cooking and whatever. And it was, to think like, okay, that's a 17-year-old girl with a pig. That's not like a little kid. So the answer to the question, which was not really answered, do you eat pork? Is no, she does not eat pork. So she wanted, like, she implied like, she wanted me to come back on the show and blah 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 blah, and everything was so great. And she's like blowing smoke up my ass a little bit, being a little flattering. And but whatever, I'm like, yeah, like I know I'm funny. Like you're not. Holly hates me. I will never recover. Wait, Bob Paxton? Who Holly hates you? I don't know what you're Holly. Whom? Where Paxton? Are you? I think you're hitting the prune juice a little too hard. What are you talking to? Who hates you? No, I don't know that anybody hates you. I don't know that there's any hatred here. Any hatred. I'm not seeing haters. There are no haters, not that I'm aware of. I mean, there could be, but here's. Oh wait, let me do it the other way. So after the Rittenhouse trial, a bunch of our fellow whites went on Twitter after the Kenosha attack. Love playing dumb in this safe space. Holly is the girl's name is Brittany. Okay, so here's the tweet. This is a very this is the kind of thing that would get us put on a fucking no-fly list if we had done it. But of course, we know that there's really no rules for them. They get to do whatever they want to do. Right? Let's put this up. Let's take me off the screen entirely. So this was, and this was specifically political, right? This is the Governor Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, his Twitter feed, and this guy named Mark Feinberg tweets of the Christmas parade terrorist attack by a black male that injured, I don't know, dozens and killed a handful of children. Mark Feinberg writes, perhaps it was self-defense from the crowds. Don't two sides this thing. And Scott Walker, who I guess is a normie conservative, he's like, he says, well, it was a Christmas parade, you nitwit. And then below that, Mark Feinberg writes, poor white people. Right? So essentially mocking the death of white children and white elderly people at a Christmas parade. This is our friend, Mark Feinberg. Yeah, could be. I don't know what kind of berg. I don't. There's some kind of berg. I don't know if it's iceberg, Goldberg, Feinberg, some kind of berg. The same people who sunk the Titanic. Because we know it wasn't an iceberg, right? So, stop that. And then, of course, this is always the big surprise. The big, huge, this is always the best one. Like this is like you would think that we write this like as part of a crappy script. You know what I mean? Like a really crummy script. Trad Dad, welcome to the show. Seen you here before. Okay, let's see if it comes up on my screen. I don't really have that much boomer tech. Yes, Trad Dad, we know that our fellow whites are not white. That much we know. So, and then of course, then he posts this, right? Where is it? Come on, show up. It's quite interesting to see the amount of anti-Semitism anger out there. You know what I mean? Like you celebrate the death of women and children at a Christmas parade, and mock their deaths. And guess what? All of a sudden, anti-Semitism comes out of nowhere. It's irrational, right? Sigs and Goads. Are you former law enforcement? Or are you kind of law enforcement? Sigs and Goads made it to full coin today before the jump. Very nice. Congratulations. Congratulations. You are amongst less than 21 million people on the face of this earth. You are in a very, very exclusive club, sir. A very exclusive club. Speaking of which I'm gonna mention some stuff about our friends with Bitcoin, but so we know that I got some Bitcoin news. What else? So we did the pig. I don't know if I did this last time, but I'm going to show it again real quick. This is a Bank of England statement on the central bank digital currencies. You know what I mean? So, or a digital British pound. They're not quite ready yet. They think they're ready, but they're not quite ready. So this is the where is it? Where is it? Oh, former cop. That's good. It's probably better for your soul, as they say. Thanks for covering your Edwardian doorknob in Quantico, James. Yes, that's true. I've got my. You've noticed the huge upgrade in the studio decorations. That's the Black Death to Traitors flag. I didn't even know that. I just thought it's a black flag. I thought it was kind of cool looking. I didn't realize it was a Death to Traitors flag. But that I approve of that. So Bank of London's John Cunliffe says Bitcoin threat to financial stability is getting closer. Deputy Governor warns regulators must act before crypto assets become a major risk. Well, isn't that interesting? So you get the Bank of England guy, and you have this story here. Here's another one. No, not that. Don't go back to that. Go to. This is. Oh no, I'm boomer teching here. I'm spazzing out. I'm losing my ability, losing control of the show. No, I'm not losing control of the show. I haven't even had any alcohol yet. I will in a moment, but I haven't had any alcohol yet. Well, but of course, I don't know if have I ever done an entirely sober stream? I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I don't know. It would be weird. I got somebody else in the chat talking about my on-screen battles. Will, yes, making Patrick Bateman cry like the bitch that he is. So, and I actually think he's sober now. I don't think he's on opioids anymore. And I actually said I made the mistake of saying something nice about that, and that, of course, is a huge problem. So this story it says like 12/11, whatever, but it's the European dating. It's not dated. It's not dated like a month in advance. This was the 11th month, the 12th day. So this was November 12th. Europe must ban Bitcoin mining to hit the 1.5 something C Paris climate goal, says Swedish regulators, right? So here, like, we just got to stop this Bitcoin thing. It's going to destabilize countries. It's going to blow up the planet. Now, it may be a gross oversimplification to say, but none of these people are your friends, and they don't want what's best for you. In fact, they want to take everything you have, right? They want you broken dead. They want your children raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. And you know that. I'm not the first one telling you this. This is not the first time you've heard that. But if these people are warning you away from Bitcoin and literally screaming that it's going to blow up the planet or destabilize countries, perhaps you should think about moving some of your fiat currency into Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Amongst Bitcoiners, we say, listen, you don't have to put all your money in Bitcoin, just the money you want to keep. And this, of course, is not something Boomer Paxson can wrap his head around, because if he can't smoke it or trade it for fucking love beads at Woodstock, then then he's got nothing to do. Bob Paxson, all my Fed subscriptions want me to find Jesus or Bitcoin. You can find both. You can absolutely find both. Trust Jimmy Swaggart, but listen, I'm not chasing my secretary around the desk. I don't have a secretary to chase around the desk, but I would if I could. I suppose I would if I could. So this is, and also they had Hillary. Oh, I think didn't Hillary do one recently about Bitcoin? No. Yes, she did. Didn't come in there. They I don't. Why would you wheel Hillary out? That doesn't make any sense. But like, who would listen to her? What cohort of the population thinks, oh, Hillary Clinton's talking about cryptocurrencies, I ought to listen? Like, who? Like, she was, before Kamala Harris, I think she was like the most hated political figure in American history. And maybe they figured because she's dropped down a notch, because Kamala, the Barbadian, Barbadian infiltrator, is hated more than she is. So, maybe they figure that actually makes her charming, but it doesn't really work that way. Just because you hate Kamala Harris more than you hate Hillary Clinton doesn't mean you don't still hate Hillary Clinton. So these are the official inflation figures from different countries around the world. Venezuela, 1,575% inflation. Sudan, 366% inflation. Zimbabwe, 54% inflation. Argentina, 52% inflation. South Sudan, 51%. Iran, 39%. Ethiopia, 34%. Yemen, 30%. Angola, 26%. Libya, 21%. Turkey, 19%. Nigeria, 15%. Haiti, 10%. That's just because they can't count higher than that. Brazil, 10%. Belarus, 10.5%. Russia, 8%. Poland, 6%. Mexico, 6%. The U.S., 6%. Spain and Ireland coming in at 5%. And those are the official figures. All right. We all know that the real numbers are higher. And so this basically, the entire world is experiencing inflation at higher rates, and all of these governments are powerless to stop it. The people in the government, at the top of the government, they will be fine. Everyone else is going to be screwed. So it behooves you to act in your own best interest. And what you think that looks like? Well, you know what? Everybody knows that I am the Bitcoin guy of Bitcoin guys. If you think that you're going to be running around with gold coins and carrying a 6-shooter and going on your horse down the fucking road to the general store to buy a fucking, I don't know, dried beans and fucking bacon, I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen. And everyone that talks about that sort of thing, like, you're going to get overrun. You're going to get overrun by people with motorized vehicles and automatic weapons and drones and shit. So you better embrace the 21st centuryness of this and see what that looks like. And I have some ideas on that, and I'm not 100% sure. I guess this is really the only forum I can talk about them, because I've said it before. What a Bitcoin standard world is, or what a Bitcoin world would look like, is something like democracy and something like communism, but it's not really democracy, nor is it really communism. And there would be consensus, right? Bitcoin just had a software upgrade, the first software upgrade in 4 years. It's called Taproot, and whatever it did, it improved the privacy, it improved a few other things. But how did they improve the software? A bunch of guys wrote it, the coders wrote it, okay? And then they argued about, does it benefit everybody? And once they thought that it benefited everybody, they presented it to the miners and said, when you mine Bitcoin, you have to mine according to this protocol now. And the miners had to signal 100% acceptance of this upgrade, or it wouldn't go through. And so this was a bit of a big deal. And each mining outfit, as they signaled their acceptance, you could see Taproot, go like 20, 30, 50, 70, 80, 90. Once 100% consensus was achieved, then this new software upgrade to Bitcoin was adopted. Okay. And it's seamless and it works in the background. So that's consensus governance, right? That's consensus within Bitcoin. That model could be used in a lot of different ways. Okay. A big part of the problem of whites who are concerned about their future is that there are fellow whites who are not really white. The small hats come in and they take over, they subvert, and they sneak in like snakes or whatever to the back door. Okay. How do you avoid that? Well, they always, it's, what's the phrase? Lots of our own close to the throne, right? They get near the leaders and then they have the leaders impose their will. Joe Biden does what they tell him to do. Donald Trump did what they tell him to do. Obama, of course, told them, followed orders. They all followed the marching orders, at least back to, well, even Reagan, they ran circles around because he wasn't that smart. But listen, they've done this for a long time. You know what I mean? I think Reagan was maybe the last one. They didn't actually control. They did it in a different method, you know what I mean, with false flags and stuff. But I don't think, but certainly Clinton was a new Democrat. He was a change agent, you know what I mean? And everybody lost all their money in the .com thing, you know what I mean? Then there was 9/11. Then there was Bush, who they put the war ring in his nose and dragged him, all around the globe, making war everywhere. Then there was another change agent, was Barack Obama, who didn't change a fucking thing. And on from there, right? And we got Zion Don, and now we've got Biden. Biden will be gone, and they'll put in Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis is as much as Shabbos Goy as any of them were. So we know this. This is like this system of putting the people in charge of stuff doesn't work, because people lie to you, they betray you, they sell you out. Like, everybody knows this, right? Everyone knows this. The critics of democracy are just, they'll just get their fucking list out there like, oh boy, here's the list of all the shitty things in democracy. As if there's nothing shitty in fucking monarchy, but whatever. They live in their dream world. So a new method has to come around. And if Bitcoin becomes the standard, if Bitcoin becomes the money, the ideas that go along with Bitcoin are likely to percolate throughout the civilization, the culture, the country. And consensus governance might look like a group of people with some wealth wherever they are. They could be in an urban setting, they could be in a rural setting. This county is run this way. Okay. And if you want to come in here, one, you got to put up X amount of Bitcoin. And two, you have to agree to live by these rules, right? Well, I don't know what the rules are. The rules are going to be whatever. You'll read that and you'll go, yeah, I'm in. Put your Bitcoin into a giant multi-sig wallet, and then you get to live there, right? And no changes go through unless everyone agrees to it, like everyone agreed to Taproot. So any changes you propose that only benefit you aren't going to go very far, are they? And if you break the rules, somehow the negative consequence will be you lose whatever Bitcoin you put up to get into that community. That would incentivize, one, playing by the rules of that community, and two, disincentivize subversion and breaking the rules. Now this is like a bigger concept than most people can hold in their tiny little brains, but it could very easily be done, especially since, listen, the U.S. is not entirely going away. You know what I mean? That U.S. global power may shrink by 90% or more doesn't mean the U.S. federal government is going away in the continental United States. Again, it may be scaled back dramatically, it may be scaled back 80 or 90%, but the founding laws, the Constitution is still going to be there. And if you can write a consensus governance plan for a community that does not directly oppose the Constitution, you could probably survive that way, especially when nothing else works. So Bob Paxton, sounds like democracy. The difference is decentralized money. Okay. Democracy turns into oligarchy, right? You remember this? Do you remember this? Paxton's really like losing his mind. This is just eating his brain. Democracy turns into oligarchy. The guys with the money, the richest, end up controlling democracy. And they do that because they have access to the public treasury. They have access to all the tax money. But you won't have that under a Bitcoin standard because you're not going to give the government your Bitcoin to hold. You're going to be holding it. And the government's going to have to come to you and say, well, there's a pothole. We want to fill it. We want to hire this guy to fill a pothole. You know what I mean? Will you give us some Bitcoin? And then people are going to have to go, all right, let's see the pothole. You know what I mean? And who's going to do the job and how well is it going to be done? I skipped. Look at Bob Paxton. Did I skip a lot? Yes, Bob Paxton, because I don't actually have, as much as you think that this 99-cent Walmart fucking notebook that I scribble in 5 minutes before the show, as much as you believe that it contains the entire master plan for the 21st century, you're wrong. I don't actually have the entire master plan for the century, but I'm talking about some ideas that might work. Okay. What might it look like? And this puts me like literally ahead of every white nationalist ever. I was on Twitter Spaces the other day, and there's Josh Neal is there, and I saw he was on a space, and it was a space yesterday called "Ask." I'm a white nationalist. Ask me anything, right? And who was there? Bob Paxton's favorite celebrity, Richard Spencer. So Spencer's there, and there was a couple hundred people in this room, and some dindus and they're mumbling their fucking nonsense. It's terrible when they try to. They really should not. Whatever, they are what they are. So, but at one point, some black female asked this guy who claims to be a white nationalist, and to be honest, I think he's just some white guy who lives in a 98% white zip code and knows he doesn't want brown people in his zip code. Like, I think that's all he really is, because he's not a white nationalist. And they said, well, what do you want? You're a white nationalist. What do you want? And the guy mumbles something, not slavery, blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, what do you want? And he managed to fumble his way into, we don't want to make the mistakes of the past. And I'm like, dude, as a white nationalist, you can't say the 14 words. You can't say to secure a homeland for our people and a future for white children. You can't even do the 14 fucking words. What kind of fucking, when did you get your white nationalist fucking secret decoder ring, retard? It probably didn't even come in the fucking mail. So it was just a disaster. And Josh Neal jumped out, and I laughed my head off, and I jumped out. I was like, okay, I don't know what that thing is. Spencer State, of course, because he's a retard. And I'm like, I don't know what do you think you're doing or saying? You know what I mean? You have people running around claiming they're like right-wing extremist white nationalists who can't even remember probably the most critical white nationalist talking point, right, of the day. Virgil Doc Purple Heart, welcome to the show. Could you please listen? Could you have some medication for Bob Paxton? Because he's fucking losing it. He's typing away like a maniac. There's probably blood all over his keyboard squirting out of his fingertips. He's typing so hard. Easy, Paxton. Gently. Just calm down. Everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be all right. You know what I mean? Just embrace the decline. All right, what am I gonna show now? And there is a decline. There's a very serious decline. The America we used to have versus the America we currently have. And I saw this. This was like, I don't generally post stuff like this, but if a more stark contrast between the ideals of America, you know, a mere 30 years ago with today. I'm not sure you can, you know. And again, you know, sometimes I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, man, this really looks like we write this. You would think like this comes from a fever dream of extreme right wingers, but no, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. The top photo of the girl in the red bikini was 1999 Calvin Klein ad. I guess Calvin Klein swimwear. You know what I mean? And then the bottom photo is last year's or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Calvin Klein underwear ad. Like you have to think like not even Calvin Klein, who's a famous rich Jewish homosexual, not even he could be that crazy. I mean, maybe he is that crazy. Maybe the HIV has rotted his brain. But man, that is seriously it's like, you know, that's not even the same country. It really those are two images that don't even look like they came from the same country. Paxton's fucking wigging out here. Oh, he's really trying to get me going. So what's Paxton saying? So now you know you should start your Fed stream just a little later. Yeah, I know. After you've calmed down, are you just like angry? Are you just like an angry boomer shouting at the sky? Are you just like, ah? Did you go outside and just yell at the clouds today or something, man? Easy. Bob Paxton, now you're saving five viewers. Oh, thank God. Well, I'm sure they'll all thank you and contribute to your whatever the Paxton, the Boomer Retirement Fund of Bob Paxton. The South Jersey, and all you're going to do is you're going to take the money and go to a casino and spend it. You know what I mean? So what are you going to do? All right, now 32 minutes in, we'll have a taste. Magnus. Which Magnus is that? You're not that Magnus kid that from Northern Stream that said that Brown, that Mexican kid out argued Northern. I'm not sure which Magnus this is. A lot of people use the same name, so I don't know if it's the same one. But this guy seems friendly. Anyway, welcome to the show, Magnus. Bob Paxton. Yes, I have nothing. And I'm happy. Just like your friends at the World Economic Forum have told you, you know, you will own nothing, and you will be happy. Bob Paxton. Yeah, Bob Paxton. Magnus argued about Bitcoin. Yeah, you have no arguments. You don't actually have arguments. I've said it before. I would love to hear some arguments. The only arguments are, what if the sun blows up? Tweety Bird, hello, welcome to the show. The arguments against Bitcoin are, what if the sun blows up, or what if somebody detonate an EMP over, I don't know, I guess over the entire globe and fry every computer. So they have to detonate an EMP over every Bitcoin node everywhere on the planet at once. And I guess, you know, that's somewhere in the realm of possibility, but it's not in the realm of probability. And so that's not a good argument. You know what I mean? And every other argument is bullshit. You want to put your faith in kings, put your faith in kings. You know what I mean? I'm not even being biblical with that. Like, there's that kid, Bernard Brightson, and a bunch of people that like the we hate democracy people, you know? And they're like, well, democracy sucks because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying it's a fucking bowl of cherries, but it's the best system you got. You know what I mean? And they say, oh, but why can't there be a wise king who wakes up every morning and wants to work hard for the serfs? There's a pothole in the village where the serfs and their little ox carts bring the hay in from the fields for my horse parade. Let me send the captain of potholes to go fill up. That's not going to fucking happen. The king doesn't give a fuck about you. You know what I mean? And monarchy as a system has its flaws as well. One, how do you know that queen ain't a hoe? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know the queen isn't fucking the captain of the guard and the monarchical succession that kid is really his kid? How do you know? Maybe he has 2 kids or 3 kids. Maybe they're all boys. Maybe there's fratricide. Maybe brothers kill brothers to get that fucking throne. So there's some flaws there too to this natural progression of monarchical fucking dumb shit. And those are just theoretical examples. If you actually look at the history of monarchy, it's as fucked as fucking get. And there's a reason why it doesn't work. It's no longer functioning on this earth. Okay. Yes, there are titular monarchs. Japan has an emperor. There's a queen of the Netherlands or something like that. You know what I mean? You have obviously, I guess the most highly visible of the English royalty, but they don't do anything. They don't have any power. They just parade around and distract people with their nonsense. So monarchy as a system is profoundly flawed and a lesser system than democracy, like it or not. However, democracy is creaky and old. It's like 2,500 years old, and it needs to be freshened up. And the way it's going to be freshened up is by decentralized money. When no one can steal your money, it makes every authoritarian impulse a lot harder. Fucking Paxton. Listen, Paxton, I don't know. When Paxton comes in, he just comes in like a psycho, like some kind of crazy Kill Bill thing or something. You're like, you're like the girl from Kill Bill. You're just whacking away at everybody in every direction. So Magnus is a dreamer, right? Like that guy, Bernard Brightson. You could say whatever you want to say. It just doesn't exist anymore for a reason. You don't know what the reason is, but it doesn't exist anymore for a reason. And part of the reason why really, and I have enough with these fucking right wingers is, you ever want to shut up a right winger, just start talking about money. They run as fast as, like, you want to shut up a communist, start talking about Jewish power. Like, God, any communist, any shit lib, whatever, you know what I mean? They're going to run in the opposite direction. They do not want to talk about that. Okay. No normie wants to talk about elite power and who are those elites and how they gained that power. They ain't having that conversation, right? They're going to scream some invective at you, racist, hater, anti-Semite, and they're going to run as fast as they can in the opposite fucking direction. And talking about money has the same effect for right-wing people, because most right-wing people are just upper middle class kids who are afraid to leave their house because some brown kid might punch them in the nose and steal their bicycle. And that's a reasonable fear because it happens a lot. However, sitting there screaming at the top of your lungs that you want that you want the world to be made so safe that you can't possibly fuck up, or nothing bad could ever happen to you, is equally as delusional as those fucking nose ring, blue-haired, transgender unicorns of the left. You're really no different. And to have a functioning civilization, it has to function at a lot of different levels. It has to function at a lot of different levels. And you have to motivate millions of people, okay, to mostly maintain the culture and mostly play by the rules. And how are you going to do that? Religion, shot through and through. There aren't enough true believers in any religion, okay, to make that work. That was a tool that worked for a long time. You know what I mean? But it doesn't really work anymore. You know what I mean? Nobody believes in any political party. Nobody believes in any political party. Everyone knows it's bullshit. Everyone knows it's a con job. It's all just, can I get my hand in the public treasury and how much can I steal? No one thinks any political party anywhere is not in it for themselves and their children. So how will you motivate people to do what you want? And there's things you don't know how clean water comes into your house. You don't know how electricity works. You don't know how any of this stuff works. And if you think you don't need it, wait till it gets shut off. Wait till it gets shut off. And I tried to mention this to Norv and the crew the other night. The idea of a 100% pure Bavarian phenotype ethnostate may work and it may not work, because there's going to be certain skill sets that you need that you don't have for a number of different reasons. One, not that many people have that skill set to begin with. Two, whites are deliberately excluded from stuff like that, right? These are not skill sets that you can bootstrap that quickly. Bob Paxton, here he is. At the root of all of Bob Paxton's anger is just his fear of the coof. You know what I mean? It's fear driving that boomer rage. You know what I mean? Fear of the coof. Paxton. Here's Bob Paxton. James has all the answers. No, James has the best questions. You know what I mean? The best questions lead you to where the answers are going to be, but I have the best questions. So how are you going to motivate people to do shit? You know what I mean? By telling them Jesus loves, you're going to burn in a lake of fire? Nobody believes that anymore. You know what I mean? What are you going to tell them? Why should they get out of bed and do anything for you? You know what I mean? Why? What is the purpose? Like, how are they going to deliver the crap you want? You know, do you think Amazon drivers drive an Amazon truck because they love Jeff Bezos or the fucking spaceship he has, or they're like really into what do you think it is? Like, why do you think they do that? They do it for money, right? And as long as the money works, they'll do it. And when the money stops working, they're going to do other shit, and you ain't going to fucking like it. And you have to live in a world where a lot of people might be going crazy all at once, and the government's going to have to try and control that. So aside from the fact that consensus governance is going to mean something, you have to keep out the people you don't want. And that's probably going to imply a lot of what we currently consider intrusive technology. But what else are you going to do? Police are expensive. They're really like, how big of a police force will you have to keep you safe at night? You know what I mean? How's that going to work? How much of that can you automate? And how would you know? How would the police know where you're supposed to be? You know, should you be here or should you not be here? Right? You always see the cops say, where are you going to? Where's your ID? Who are you visiting in these buildings? You know, if you ever watch cop shows, right? Why are you here? What is your purpose for being here? Okay. And people say, oh, that's racist. That being racist. But it's one, it's their job. And two, it's the only way to screen out people who don't belong there. Okay. So that's going to have to go high tech, because it'll be a lot cheaper and it'll be automated. So what's that going to look like? Well, it could look a lot of different ways. But probably the best way is your face. And I don't mean my face as you see it now, but underneath your skin, you have a network of veins and little arteries that deliver blood to the muscles of your face that give you expressions, or at least they give me expressions. And that map of those veins underneath your face, you can see it with a heat camera, is unique to everybody. Even identical twins under the skin are radically different in how those veins and shit go. So, you might have to, for access control to your safe upper middle class, 98% white community, you might have to pass a scanner, and you go, well, I don't want to be scanned. Well, then go live in the Mad Max Badlands. That's low tech. You know what I mean? And go live with whomever, take your pick. But successful communities, right? Of people with good skills who are willing to play by the rules, right? They agree to what the rules are and they play by those rules. That will allow you to create some kind of society you want, okay? And the ones that have good ideas that work are going to succeed, and the rest are going to fall apart. Bob Paxton, moving to Japan, teach them critical race theory. I heard rents are going down in Japan because there's no one to rent apartments. Their population is not growing, and they have a deflationary economic spiral, so rents are going down. That's part of the reason why they're trying to bring all the immigrants. They want to open up Japan to immigrants so they can pump up the middleman wealth machine. Tweety Bird, James knows because he works for FedEx. Well, here's the thing. It's not for places that it's not safe. Everything gets delivered. Like Amazon delivers everything all the time to everyone, including Fresh Direct delivers food to your house. DoorDash. To imagine that all of this is going away is dishonest. It's either naive or dishonest. Okay. You sit crying all day. Oh my God, there's no trad women. Women don't know how to cook. You're right. There's no trad women. The women don't know how to cook. One of the things I said to that Jew broad was, I have never had a girlfriend who knew how to fucking cook in my like never, not one, never one, not one woman I ever dated said, I can make you blanket like anything, like nothing, like nothing. So, and that's that, and I'm older than half the chat probably. So who's going to make your food? How are you going to get food? Or you're not going to eat, right? Oh, I'm just going to eat like raw, like you're just going to grab a fucking bird out of the sky and eat it raw, and then go deadlift. Yeah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? You're going to grab like a neighborhood cat and rip it open and just chew on the muscles while you do your fucking gymnastic kung fu or say, while reading, what's his name? Otto Spengler? Yeah, I don't think so. Don't think so. So how's this going to be done? And even if you say, well, we don't want these delivery trucks because it's uncontrolled access of people we don't know, et cetera, et cetera. All right, fair enough. That would make sense. We don't know who these people are. We don't want them near our children, and assuming, of course, here's another thing. You talk about sitting in front of a screen and return to tradition. Okay. Are your kids going to be, how many TV screens going to be in your house? And when will they be allowed to be on? Okay. Or can you play them whenever you want? Or do they only come on for certain people at certain times? Or do your kids sit in front of them to remote learn from a teacher and then it shuts off and the kid has to go outside and ride his bicycle or climb a tree or something, right? The kid can't sit in front of a computer all day or a screen all day and zombie out, no matter what the content is. No matter, it could be the most factual, serious, conservative, right-wing, blah, 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 blah content ever. The kid's still not climbing a tree and he's not riding his bicycle and he's not collecting butterflies in a jar or whatever the fuck you think you want kids to do, right? They're not running on the beach if you live by the beach. They're not hiking through the mountains. How do you get your kids outside doing kid stuff, right? Normal kid stuff that's good for their bodies and good for their brains if there's a screen on in their house the entire time? Who's going to control the screens, right? That's a level of control that's communist level, totalitarian, super authoritarian, really fucking lock people down. Your screen goes blank, go outside and fucking exercise, right? Or sit at home like what level of control will you exercise? I don't know, or will you go, well, or you say, you know what, it's too much of a headache. Let them sit there and become fat and stupid watching 1940s movies, right? How's this all going to work? You have to think about it in advance and then say, look, here's a group of us. This is the way we're willing to fucking live. If you are willing to play by our rules 100%, then you can live with us. If not, take a fucking hike. And then, like I said, the successful versions of that, whatever that looks like, will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the thing about Bitcoin is it's a system of value you can send around the earth in 10 minutes. You don't need to depend on the US dollar. So if there's some whacked out thing that you need from South Korea, I don't know what it could be, you can just order it and somebody will ship it to you somewhere because you'll have something of value that the South Koreans want, okay, that in exchange for Bitcoin. That's why it could work. The reason why all these other revolutions in Africa and these other places never worked, especially in the last 50, 65 years, is the Cold War forced you to choose between the Soviet Union and the United States. And you had to pick one or the other. Some countries played one off the other, but that's a dangerous game because you end up with enemies on both sides. And neither one of these, listen, neither the Russians nor us are shy about killing people. So what exactly does the future look like? I'm not a super fucking futurist, but the idea of I'm trying to think about this in a way that makes sense. And so if, let's say you live somewhere where I said this the other day to Norvin. What if you live in Pennsylvania, there's a nuclear power plant, Okay, so that's great. Tons of electricity, all you want. But the guys that run that are getting old. Like they're Paxton's age, right? They're fucking boomers. What happens then when they retire? Do you just keep your fingers crossed that the fucking nuclear power plant still works? No, you're gonna have to bring somebody in there who knows how to run that shit, what all those dials and meters mean, and what how to do whatever you got to do. That's not a 4 hour orientation at an Amazon warehouse. This is a lot more serious shit, right? You might have to import somebody from a different part of the world that you don't necessarily like and say, listen, you come here, we'll let you live in this house. You train these guys up so that they know how to run the nuke plant. And 3 to 5 years, then you go home. And and this person may be very different from you, and you may not like them, but you know what? You better keep your mouth shut or you'll be living in the dark. All right. Real world compromises are going to have to be made, and they have to be made by adults, right? Sitting there screaming, fucking like just like you're doing, if it's not perfect, you're going to spurg out. No one cares because almost nobody making that type of argument produces anything of value to anyone. Okay. Part of the reason I was thinking about this too, that fucking, what is it? The Yamanas people that whatever they call them, they lived beyond Hyperborea and they invented the wheel and they had the chariot and horses and they were somewhere, I don't know what the fuck they were, like in the Ukraine or something, and they killed everybody and they had sex with every woman that was not their wife, whatever, because they had I guess they like brown chicks. And all the advanced civilizations of the ancient world really came from the Yamanas people, or I don't know what the fuck they were called. And I'm like, this is the dumbest read. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a fun fantasy, but it's not true. You know what I mean? It's not even close to true. It doesn't even come close to making sense. But like these people invented the wheel and the chariot, and they had weapons, and they were this and that and the other, and they spawned every advanced civilization on the planet except where they came from. Where they came from, there was no advanced civilization. Where they came from was just dirt. You know what I mean? But they were behind Mesopotamia and Babylon and Egypt and Greece and Rome and blah 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 blah. Sure, they were. They with their horses and their chariots, they inspired. And of course, they just had sex. They just stood. I guess they conquered people and just kept having sex with all the females who are inferior to them, but whatever, until their specific DNA is now carried through every white European. It is the dumbest fucking fantasy. And it appeals to upper middle class white kids who never leave the fucking house because all the really hard work was done by your parents or your grandparents, and you're just enjoying the fruit of it. So psychologically, like that story has a great deal of appeal to you because it seems exotic enough that it's a faraway world, but it exactly kind of matches your exact circumstances. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, I'm benefiting from shit that happened a long time ago that I had nothing to do with. So that's why that has a very strong emotional and psychological pull to these people who, again, have to do. They don't run a business. You have no degree. You're not a doctor. You're not cutting people open and making them fucking healthy. You're not doing any of that. You have no idea how that shit happens or why it fucking happens. And you think, oh, we don't need doctors. Fuck doctors. Trust me, you're going to need doctors. You know what I mean? We don't need electricians. Yeah, you do. You need the guys to run a nuclear power plant, and you need the guys to wire up your fucking whatever, your fucking sprinkler system. And who's going to do this? Why? Because we all have one single genetic marker in common. That again, in the history of humanity, that we all have the same genetic feature has never been a sufficient principle to fucking make people behave in a coordinated fashion. It just hasn't. Well, why can't it? Because that's not how human beings work. They have never worked that way. Not white ones, not yellow ones, not brown ones. Okay. And until you start looking at why people do what they really do and figure out a way like, okay, with this, if this current thing drops down dramatically and there's an opportunity for a different way of living, what's that going to look like? Yeah, Tweety Bird, the Yamana. I used to call them the Yamahas, but I just say that they're bus balls. Bob Paxton, we don't need people to take my Learjets parts to Scranton. Yeah, Learjets are saying that, oh, jets, private jets, all-time high. I was somewhere, I swear to God, I don't know if this was, where was I, NetJets? I think they said NetJets is going to buy another 100 private jets. Like NetJets is already the largest private aircraft company in the world, but like another 100 jets. These jets go for like, man, some of them like 25, 30 million a pop. And they're going to order another 100 of them. I was somewhere and I heard that. It was like somebody over there said that. I was like, what the fuck? Who's buying 100 jets? That's a lot of jets. So the billionaire is doing great, and the question is, will they lose their grip? Yeah, likely. Weimar's happened before. Hungary had hyperinflation. Zimbabwe has hyperinflation. You cannot stop human corruption. It's just really, really, really difficult. And the consequences, they're going to come. Not tomorrow. Obviously I showed that image before with inflation nation, country by country. The weakest, most poorly run countries that are most open to corruption, they go down first. Okay. But that tide is going to rise and rise and rise and rise until it gets everybody. You know what I mean? Until every weakness is exposed. And then you're going to have to make different choices. Bob Paxton, I am Jimmy's job security. Mexicans are your social security, Bob Paxton. All right. Every time you see some mestizo with a fucking leaf blower on his back, that's the guy who's paying your check, bro. That's when you get that little check that says United States Treasury every month, with a picture of what is it? Who's on there? When I got a check once. When you get this fucking stimulus check, doesn't it have the Statue of Liberty on it? What is your social security check? But post a picture in the chat of your social security check, Paxton. If you haven't already spent it at the casino. Jimmy still hits the old age homes. I ain't making it to an old age home. So 57 minutes. Yeah, so that's that. Oh, yeah. And the other thing, I guess, so you guys know I'm a gun guy. And there was 2 years ago, I took a class from a guy who's a retired Delta Force guy. And his name is John Makhe. And his stuff pops up in my YouTube every now and then. And he was doing an interview. He was interviewed by a retired SAS commando. And this was, I thought this was really interesting because I like to listen to different points of view and trying to figure out how it makes sense. So you got the Delta Force guy talking to a retired SAS guy, and they were both in Iraq. And so the SAS guy goes, man, he says, by the time we finally got to Iraq, he said, we just couldn't believe all the great fucking intel you guys had. Like the CIA just had like tons of fucking, so much intel that was actionable intel. Like it was incredible, your intelligence agencies. And Makhe was like, no, listen, they're not quite that way. And the SAS guy goes like, how so? And like I said, Makhe was a Delta Force guy. And he said, listen, when we first got there, we had no intel. He said, we would do hits to generate intel. So he said, Makhe would get his team and say, okay, we're going to hit this guy. We're going to blast our way into his house. We're going to shoot everybody we need to shoot. We're going to grab the guy and we're going to squeeze him until he starts talking. And the CIA had the U.S. military, special operations guys, special forces guys do this to generate intelligence. And the Brit was like, oh shit, I had no idea. And that started the ball rolling. Then the other thing that this guy Makhe was talking about in Iraq, he said, when we got to Iraq, I'm just going to go straight. He said, first we killed the retarded people, then we killed the stupid people. He said, but then what you're left with is the smart people who are good at surviving. And so I thought about that. I was like, okay, so listening to war stories and stuff like that. And I'm thinking the White House, Department of Justice looks at us as domestic terrorists, right? And how much of what they do or what they're likely to do can transfer from Iraq to the United States. Now, the United States is not openly at war. There's no drones, there's no tanks, there's no fighter jets going overhead, right? There's no Humvees with 50 caliber machine guns rolling down suburban streets. That's not happening. However, within the context of civilian America, they would try to apply lessons learned, right, from one war zone to the next. It just makes sense. It's just easiest. Take this template and use it over here. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't work. And so I thought about that. I was like, okay, is that kind of like happening? What would that look like? How would I read that? And the way I read that was like Charlottesville was for retards. You know what I mean? And I was one of them. So I'm not breaking my arm, patting myself in the back, but I haven't. I didn't get caught up in that. It was a failed operation on their part because the only cops that died because they were following orders and they fell out of the sky in a helicopter. And but they, out of that massive failure for them, and it was a gigantic failure operation. All they got was taking that kid James Fields and giving him a 400-year sentence for crashing his car and some woman having a heart attack on the sidewalk. So they had to try to find that was a massive failure on their part. But it brought out the retards, right? And post Charlottesville, everyone fled the alt-right. Anyone with two brain cells was like, okay, I'm not doing the retard thing anymore. And I would argue that the January 6th thing was the stupid people. You know what I mean? The stupid ones who believe that there's a secret cabal of intel operatives deep in the bowels of the federal government who are secretly working, with 4D chess with Trump to fucking whatever, 20,000 sealed indictments to Jeffrey Epstein, whatever the fuck, whatever. So that was the stupid people. And now, after those two sort of big things, and again, this doesn't translate directly from an Iraqi war zone to a civilian America, but I think that there's some similarities. Post January 6th, which was big, public, and splashy. And again, it really went badly for them. You know what I mean? They killed one civilian. They had one of their fat Fed cops died of a heart attack 10 days later. It really didn't work out for them. And they shocked the normies into going, hey, wait a minute, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. That all fell apart. So the retards got hit in Charlottesville. A few years later, the stupid people took the hit in January 6th. And now, hopefully, what's left are smart people who are good survivors. You need to be smart and survive and not buy into any of this stuff and be super, super careful. That's why that show, Politically Provoked, I ended up, like I said, I was DMing that girl for a while, and then she was like, well, you post the Rittenhouse trial, I was like, listen, you got to talk about this Jewish guy celebrating the death of people at the Christmas parade. And she's like, well, I'll only do it if you're there. And I'm like, that's the hottest story in America. If you want to be politically provocative, how would you not jump all over this? And she's DMing me back like, oh, I have a debate scheduled the debate was feminism versus men's rights. And I'm like, was this fucking 1992? Like, what are you even talking about? That's like edgy discourse for fucking 30 years ago. So I'm like, anyway, the answer she gave me was all wrong. And she's like, well, she implied that, the only reason to do that is if I would go and I don't know, be angry or funny or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, really? You can't this. If I don't help you, you can't do this, Why is my resolution so low? Because I'm running shit off a fucking Android 10 phone. What do you think? I'm spending money on this? But I'm not a fucking rich boomer like you, living by the sea, eating fucking lobster, drinking champagne. You know what I mean? Paxson, like you. Look at you with like a mental case in the fucking chat. You know what I mean? You put there's kids in the fucking chat that are like 1/3 your age. You're putting them to shame with your typing speed, your boomer typing skills. But anyway, I don't know, just like I said, this girl's answers it just weird interaction. And I was like, hey, guess what? I hope you enjoy being blocked as much as I enjoy blocking you. And I had nothing to do with it because I think that show. But before that, I had said to her, I said, look, when people tell me who they are, I believe them. Now I do. I didn't when I was younger. I thought there was a big secret that I wasn't seeing. But now in my life, I think, you know what? this is the way it looks. This is probably the way it is. So you have a Jewish woman with a black co-host that you never see, surrounded by homosexual Jewish manlets and Duvid, you know what I mean, who wants to do edgy political discourse. Yeah, no, that sounds like a fucking op to me. That 100% sounds like an op to me. You know what I mean? And there's nothing, guys like us or anybody, you could only lose going on that fucking show. Could I go on there and blow them the fuck out? Yeah, probably like twice a week. You know what I mean? Like twice a week and 3 times on Sunday. But for what? Eventually it's going to come back on me. You know what I mean? I'm a contract guy, not an employee, so I don't think I can be fired that easy. But it could cause me headaches in how I make a living. For what? Like for what? What do I get out of it? You know what I mean? So um, yeah, I just decided, whatever that thing is and the nature of the way this woman talks with people, it's all just too weird and I don't want any part of it. I had fun going there once. And like I said, if you go on Politically Provoked, you go find their Twitter feed and you look at like November 14th as the date, look at the Pop On Drink and Chat, which is on BitChute. It's a 5-hour, 21-minute stream. Skip to the 3-hour, 30-minute mark. That's when me, Norvin, and some other guys come on. And that's where it's fun and funny for about an hour or so. And then I'm done with them. But if you're looking for entertainment, you could do that. But other than that, there's nothing but the downside for us. You know what I mean? Be smarter, be much smarter, and prepare yourself for things getting worse, and try to for the people that are important to you. You know what I mean? Try to figure out, even if they don't want to listen to you, even if they disagree with you, think about like, well, if things really go to shit, how am I going to protect my family? Even though they're not going to listen to me until the whole fucking world's on fire. You know what I mean? You might have to take that burden all on yourself. If you want to be a prick and go, well, you don't agree with me, you can go starve to death. Well, maybe you want to do that. But I strongly advise that, particularly those that are blood related to you, you try to do as much as you can to think about what needs to be done if shit really goes sideways. Paxson. Yes, every show is of course the Fed has bandwidth. The Fed also has fucking dental care. I don't have fucking dental care. See, my teeth look better they actually look better on fucking screen than they do in real life. It's very weird. They look whiter. They look whiter on this fucking screen than they do IRL. So, but fuck it, I'll take it. Fuck it, I'll take it. So anyway, yeah. So that's it. So why is Bitcoin $57,000 when it's supposed to be $257,000 right now? My answer is fucking BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. But yeah, all right. Good night, Bob Paxson. Thank you for saving the 6 innocent souls that I was leading to damnation in the chat. You will surely be remembered in Christendom for that. Blah 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 blah. Where was I? Okay, so yeah. Listen, the price of Bitcoin is being held artificially low. That's an opportunity for a lot of people, and I think that if you let it go by, you will absolutely regret it. But with that, I try to keep these shorter now because no one wants to see me fucking do like 3 hours, long time to speak uninterrupted for 1 hour, 8 minutes and 28 seconds is about right for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call stream, as they say, as this super smooth Eki Lux would say. Why I'm not anything like the super smooth Eki Lux. But everybody that showed up, thank you for showing up. I don't even have the outro music set up, so I'm just going to say goodnight. Tweety Bird, Lunatic Bob Paxson, Even Magnus, Virgil Doc Purple Heart, Sigs and Goads, everybody else who showed up. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you again next week.
said to me, "Run your back keys," and it feels like we've been rescued and set free from the bonds of death is coming. Irreversible, the final, the visible, cleverly. So I want you to know, don't you? I want to earn my digital baby. I love to spend my Bitcoin, baby. I love Satoshi's Bitcoin, baby. It's exciting from all the heat. I like my Bitcoin's Bitcoin, baby. So send me more Bitcoin, baby. I love Satoshi's Bitcoin, baby. It's exciting, take a minute. Designed to be scarce, that word so long. Reads every record we've known. I show up for each wrong, that's how miners roll. And the blockchain goes on and on. Toshi got his problem, and he saw the problem, double space. Proof of work with all the hash, making us a little cash. Miners stack and stay where spin, share their answers with their friends. Silicon Valley team the block, while kids carrot, brown rock. Soil full shorty potion. Folks in stage when the glass is broken. When the wall cracks out, we cannot play. You'll join this party fashionably late. I love to earn my digital, baby. I love to spend my Bitcoin, baby. I love to touch my Bitcoin, baby. Green was coming up in Bitcoin. I love my Bitcoin, Bitcoin, baby. So love me more Bitcoin, baby. I love to touch my Bitcoin, baby. It's exciting to the beat.